Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. Doesn't matter if my beard is gray. Just listen, I have something to say.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. And this old goat has something to say. So just keep learning from Grandpa Dennis's Turning. Hello, I'm Dennis Pervensky and welcome to Grandpa Dennis's Woodturning Studio. Today, I've got this beautiful burl. This is all bird's eye birch. It's amazing. And you can see the bird's eye in the bottom of this. And when the bark looks like this, all pimply, that is bird's eye. This is going to make a beautiful shallow bowl. Let's get started. Finding the center of the burl using a compass. I've also determined that the majority of the bird's eye figure is just under the bark. So the best way to showcase that figure will be to make the bark side the bottom. Use those center marks to position the wood between centers on my lathe. Now I'm flattening what will be the bottom of the bowl blank. Unfortunately, I failed to keep the tailstock tight and the bowl started to slip, so I had to remount it and tighten it up again. I am using a small ruler to ensure that the bottom is completely flat. I have placed a piece of waste wood onto a faceplate. This wood will then be positioned in the center of the bowl blank. The bottom of the burl had to be flattened some more to prevent the waste wood from rocking. I'm now mixing 2-part epoxy glue onto the waste wood. I've got the burl and the waste block put between centers on my lathe in order to keep pressure on it while it cures overnight. Now that the edge is trued up, I'm going to shape the bottom of the bowl. This was very difficult as the burl was very hard and there was a lot of tear out. I had to take very light cuts and use very sharp tools. I ended up with scrapers and a lot of sanding, but in the end I got the job done and it's a nice finish. This side of the bowl was never trued up, so it took some time to do that. Then the hollowing started. drilling a hole in the center of the piece. This will help me determine the final depth of the bowl. I often stop the turning to measure the thickness of the bowl. I want to make the sides as a consistent measurement. It turned out to be 3/8 of an inch thick all the way through. The final scraping evened out all the tool marks before my sanding began. I'm going to fill these voids and cracks with some CA glue mixed with a color. But the problem is that the CA glue will tend to seep into the surrounding area and stain it. So when I finish it, you'll always see that ghosting effect. What I'm going to do is put a coat of finish on this now, and that'll protect the areas around there. And then tomorrow I'll do the taping. I'll tape the outside with masking tape and then fill that in with the CA glue. And I'll do the same on this side, so there is some backing to get that so the glue doesn't drain completely out. The bird's eye is very spectacular on this. This piece was extremely dry and very, very hard. Had this carving vise for over 30 years. It's actually hydraulics in here, and this opens it up and shuts it down. When it's open, the ball can move all the way over to this way and can swivel around. What I've done to incorporate this into my wood turning is take a piece of steel and welded it onto a plate. That steel is bolted onto the shaft that came with the vise. On top of the plate steel, I've got the threading that fits my lathe threads. Now when I tighten this down, this is solid, and I can put my faceplate with the wood attached onto here, move it around in any direction. This fits into my vise that's on my workbench. Faceplate is screwed onto the threads in there, and when I loosen up the hydraulics, I can move this in any direction. And now I can work on this crack and fill the void. After much discussion with myself, I've decided to use CA glue to fill in, and I'm going to be mixing it with copper brown, and this is the mica powder that is used when doing casting with epoxies. I think it's going to work. I hope it's going to work. The first thing I'm going to do is put some tape over this crack. It's having trouble sticking because I had put the finish on this piece. I used a thicker CA glue and had to fill in the spots several times to make sure I had enough in the voids. Between coats, I sprayed the glue with the accelerant, and that seemed to work quite well. I'm just removing some of the excess. My sanding will do a smoother job. The glue was very hard and it was difficult to sand, so I had to use my scraper first to level it out. Now that the sanding is done, it's time to do the finish. This is my homemade recipe, equal parts boiled linseed oil, pure tung oil, and polyurethane. When I pare this off, I'm going to put a tendon right where the waste block meets the blank. That tendon is going to fit the jaws of my stronghold chuck. Then I could put my chuck on that tendon, attach it to my tailstock, and bring it up to a vacuum chuck. That way I will center the bowl on the vacuum chuck, take my stronghold chuck off, bring the tailstock support up, and turn down the remainder of the waste block. Well, that's an easy way to take it off. The only thing that came apart was the waste block, but I do have the tendon in here that I should still be able to use. The bowl didn't get damaged. That's a miracle. What I did wrong was I put some pressure in this way, and that pried it off. Well, let's hope this is going to work. I don't need a lot of strength on this connection, just enough to keep this onto the chuck so that I can center it against my vacuum chuck. That's pretty darn good. This is my homemade vacuum chuck that'll hold the piece steady. Attaching the chuck and the bowl to the tailstock allows me to center it on the vacuum chuck. Perfectly centered. Wow, that worked slick. The vacuum is 27.5. 28's the most I've ever gotten. Oh, it's climbing up to 28 now. Now I'm just going to turn off what's left of the waste wood. With the tailstock removed, the vacuum chuck is holding the bowl in place. This allows me to do the sanding of the center of the bowl. Before I show you a close-up of the finished product, I'd just like to remind you that I've got a number of other videos that you might be interested in. Many bowls and lots of tips around sanding, around tool storage and sharpening. Take a look. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit the bell as well. Here's the finished bowl, 10.5 inches by 3. This is the most intense bird's eye figure in a bowl that I have ever done. In fact, it's the most intense I've ever seen. This is truly remarkable and very special. If you think this is as rare and stunning as I think it is for sale. Email me for more details. Give me a comment on what you think about this and the process I used. You can also share this video with other friends, especially wood-turning friends. I'll give you a close-up of this, and until the next time, keep on turning.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. Doesn't matter if my beard is gray. Just listen, I have something to say.
Grandpa Dennis is turning.
I'm alright, 'cause I'm okay. And this old goat has something to say. So just keep learning from Grandpa Dennis's turning.